So you want to charge your car, huh? Well, don't come here. You'll be here till 3 o'clock in the morning. And that's just the cars that are getting charged. And this is the line of the cars wanting to get charged. And this is the great hoax to get rid of gasoline so that you can go sit in a line and plug your car in. This isn't a joke. This is the real thing. It's 11:15 at night. And these are the people who probably, I guess, can't get home. And they're just sitting in their cars and they're just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Wow. Holy frickin' cow. You think that's a problem? Imagine what's going to happen when the government makes you buy an electric car, and maybe that was the whole purpose of this all along. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Radowski here of WeAreChange.org, and there's a lot of absolutely wild and bewildering news to get into today, as, of course, we have the full, all-out threat of a nuclear explosion inside of Gaza that is absolutely worth talking about in a deeper perspective, as the situation for the Ukrainians does not look good at all, as even mainline corporate media organizations are admitting. Something that, of course, we were reporting to you many, many months ago with, of course, the sad life loss that could have been prevented if we would have paid attention, if we would have listened, if we would have seen everything the way it would have been seen from an honest perspective, but no. And now we have a very dire situation for Ukraine. We're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you can get it on TheBestPoliticalShirts.com, and the clip that we played in the beginning of this broadcast to you was highlighted from California in Burbank, where in the middle of the night, at Mike Kendall 7 on Twitter, highlighted the precarious situation that many travelers found themselves as they are, of course, were forced to wait a huge amount of time to fulfill their ESG social credit score obligations, as it's also important to note that not so long ago, California banned individuals from, of course, charging their electric vehicles, as they have a mandate forcing everyone to drive them soon. This, as some people have been telling you about a conspiracy about preventing you from being able to travel, that looks like is coming to fruition. As, of course, the government creates a lot of problems in your life, and YouTuber entrepreneurs usually solve them, just like Mr. Beast, that just built 100 wells in Africa to provide clean drinking water to the local population, highlighting how independent individuals are a lot more efficient than corrupted government bureaucrats that, of course, pocket aid money that has been sent for many, many years now to the tune of billions of dollars that, of course, has been squandered away by government officials who, of course, took it for themselves. And in related news to politicians stealing the wealth and prosperity of a nation, we, of course, have the latest information surrounding the career politicians known as the Bidens, as Hunter Biden's ex-business partner, Bob Alinsky, is calling on the Bidens to join him for a public testimony before Congress, as Hunter Biden's lawyers are going after him after he exposed, of course, very corrupted dealings between the Chinese government-linked corporations and the Biden family that, of course, sent a lucrative amount of funds to the Biden family when, of course, they held political office, as many witnesses are coming forward and contradicting what the White House is saying in regards to this entire matter and situation. All of this will be laid bare in recent congressional hearings, as it's fair to say that the Biden family definitely has enriched themselves through public office in very weird, nefarious ways, highlighting clear conflict of interests, big money decisions, especially in Ukraine, especially in China, that really do make you wonder what's really happening behind the scenes, as now, not surprisingly, the lead frontrunner on the Republican ticket for the presidency in 2024 leads the current president in 5 of the 6 most important battleground states, as voters are becoming more and more disenfranchised with Bidenomics and the Build Back Better globalist Great Reset policies that, of course, have absolutely robbed and squandered the wealth of this country. This as even state GOP officials inside of Florida are defecting and supporting Donald Trump, as it looks like it's almost settled and guaranteed that Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States. But don't worry, Harvard has a new fact checker that believes 2 + 2 = 5. And of course, this is the math that we could expect from the establishment when it comes to, of course, counting the votes, counting the Electoral College, as people inside of the establishment are literally fighting for 2 + 2 = 5 and claiming themselves to be predominantly against disinformation. And that's one reason out of many reasons we created a shirt exactly explaining this many years ago as a joke. It was a joke. Now it's actual reality. It's actually been reality for a while, as this has been the argument of many woke, insane leftists. And what better way to make fun of their absurdity by getting a shirt representing it on TheBestPoliticalShirts.com, as of course we have a lot of really incredible political ideas here that absolutely spur on some critical thinking, to say the least. There's some shirts here that we cannot show you here on this particular broadcast. Some ideas that you could have on a shirt that are too spicy for this particular platform. To see those designs, to see those concepts and ideas, go to TheBestPoliticalShirts.com. The link is down in the description below. Click on it right now and be surprised to have your mind and third eye expanded when it comes to the stream of consciousness that now you could be a part of by wearing a t-shirt at your local grocery store, at the bank, at your local park, that fellow citizens could see and actually formulate thoughts and ideas that are counter-establishment, while understanding that they are not alone when it comes to their larger discontent against society. Again, this is one of the best ways to do lazy forms of activism. I wear these shirts all the time. I wore this type of shirt to Mar-a-Lago at a black tie event. Why? Because that's just who I am. But more importantly, I wanted to express ideas rather than be a fancy pants fart sniffer. Don't be a fancy pants fart sniffer. Be a real one by highlighting and showing ideas that are perfectly represented on TheBestPoliticalShirts.com, which of course goes towards supporting and growing this independent media organization. If your wardrobe is full, also check out wearechange.shop, where you can get our own line of exclusive supplements that are absolutely incredible, really good for you. Talk to your medical professional about taking anything, but I like these. Check them out. Start your own health journey on wearechange.shop, as of course I think it's fair to say with how tumultuous and utterly insane our geopolitical landscape has been, it is in your imperative to be the healthiest, strongest version of yourself, especially with the latest events of an Israeli minister coming out and suggesting that Israel should drop an atomic weapon on Gaza, describing this as, quote, one of the possible options here during this very horrific conflict that is involving almost the entire world now. Hyperbolic, sensationalistic comments that have been met with a lot of criticism, even especially from Saudi Arabia, that has been blocking missiles that have been flying towards Israel, as the Saudi Arabian foreign minister said that these comments show, quote, what extent extremism and brutality have penetrated the Israeli government, and the, quote, disregard for all value of humanity, morality, religion, and law. These comments, of course, received a lot of significant eyeballs, a lot of attention, as, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, actually suspended this minister for making these comments until further notice, as the minister specifically described how he views that there are, quote, no non-combatants inside of Gaza, essentially even describing children, women, and anyone else there as a, quote, combatant, that his solution towards solving this larger conflict was to, quote, take everyone out. Again, these are hyperbolic, sensationalistic comments, but comments that highlight just how far gone some individuals within high-ranking positions in government have actually gone when it comes to making some key, very important decisions in this entire matter. All of this as Israeli forces have now encircled Gaza City, that according to a U.S. special envoy still has between 350 to 400,000 people still inside of it, as there has been a very serious conversation here about the loss of civilian life during this entire matter, as this is now the 30th day of this conflict, as most of Gaza is being turned into rubble, as the bombardment of this region continues, as intense fighting is breaking out in close quarter combat and bombardment of the entire region, as even just moments ago, an Israeli airstrike is alleged to have hit a civilian vehicle near Lebanon just 2 days after the Hezbollah leader inside of Lebanon warned Israel that their red line is the killing of Lebanese civilians, which just happened moments ago. As now Hezbollah government officials are declaring that the taking of lives of innocent civilians, quote, completely changes the picture here. As of course, there's even a possibility of Iran's involvement in this entire matter, as the defense minister of that country just came out and said that, quote, the U.S. will be hit hard if Washington does not implement a ceasefire inside of Gaza. All of this as the fighting is intensifying, and Hamas homemade rockets that cost $300 are being obliterated by American paid-for missiles that usually cost $100,000 per missile. Now, with a potential geopolitical shifting of American interest against Iran now, this leaves countries like Ukraine feeling a little isolated here, as of course the Ukrainian government has been coming out with some statements describing how this entire matter inside of the Middle East is taking away attention to what's happening inside of Europe, as NBC News is reporting today that U.S. and European officials have, quote, quietly began pushing for the possibility of a peace negotiation between Russia and Ukraine, which could potentially finally end this war that the Western countries have been preventing the stopping of. This as now 2 U.S. senior officials have come forward and describing that the United States is pushing for a peace deal with Ukraine and Russia, essentially admitting that they have lost the war against Russia, and now they're hoping that Russia will somehow come to the table after, of course, the Western nations, particularly the United Kingdom and the United States, prevented that from happening many months ago. Again, this conflict could have ended a long time ago. The huge civilian and life loss of young Ukrainian men could have been prevented a long time ago. But because of Boris Johnson, because of the U.S. foreign policy, because of NATO, because of idiotic, corrupted individuals that are probably on the payroll of the military-industrial complex, Ukraine has just lost a significant amount of its citizens, but also now probably a significant portion of its land, which could have been prevented if the proposed peace deals that, of course, Ukraine and Russia originally agreed to from almost the beginning of this conflict, if those terms would have been met, and if the United States didn't intervene and stop that peace deal from happening in the first place, highlighting an absolutely enraging situation that should piss off everyone, including, of course, the citizens of Ukraine, who have been sold a bunch of lies, who have been screwed over and sacrificed at the altar for essentially only the benefit of the military-industrial complex and major organizations like BlackRock and Goldman Sachs that, of course, will be rebuilding Ukraine and importing a new population of citizens, utterly destroying its nation, sabotaging it. And what for is the question that a lot of people should be asking themselves. But this larger push by the Americans, according to NBC News and senior government officials, should not be a surprise to many individuals paying attention to this entire conflict, as of course, we've been telling you, looking at the map here, looking at the situation, the whole spring offensive, which some corporate media outlets are calling a new spring offensive, even though we're in the fall, wouldn't have worked. The situation strategically wouldn't have worked. And it's fair to assume here that the people of Ukraine were lied to, bamboozled, and screwed over for the benefit of some failed neoconservative American foreign policy that essentially sold them down the river. Why? So we could launch a war of attrition against Russia that we knew wouldn't work because of how much resources Russia had, because of the massive mobilization Russia had, because of the manpower Russia had, that Ukraine never did. The person making these moves on the chessboard, probably some kind of neoconservative Helen Keller, because they don't know what the hell's going on here, and they absolutely are not acting in the best interest of America, its people, and especially the people of Ukraine. And if you agree with that, share this video with your friends and family members, that it's more imperative than ever. What do you think is going to be the peace deal that is reached between Russia and Ukraine right now? Let me know down in the comment section below, as of course the future does not look bright for the people of Ukraine, as well as the people of Israel, as well as the people of Gaza, as well as the people in the Middle East, as well as the American people. That's just the way it is. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys actively buying the shirts, checking out wearechange.shop, and because you do, that's why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.